The night the doorbell rang, the murder of Sharon Tate. On August 8, 1969, Los Angeles felt like any other warm summer night. The city lights glowed softly against the Hollywood Hills, and at 1050 Cielo Drive, a rented home sat quietly above the winding roads. Inside that house was 26-year-old actress Sharon Tate. She was 8.5 months pregnant. Her husband, film director Roman Polanski, was out of the country working on a project. Sharon had invited a few friends over to spend the evening: Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Stephen Parent, a young visitor who happened to be there briefly. No one inside that house knew that a group of strangers was already moving toward the property under the cover of darkness. The group was led by followers of Charles Manson, a failed musician who had built a cult around himself in California. He convinced his followers that a race war was coming, something he called helter-skelter, and that they needed to ignite chaos. That night, Manson did not enter the house himself. Instead, he sent 4 of his followers: Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian. Shortly after midnight, Stephen Parent attempted to leave the property in his car. He was stopped at the gate. Tex Watson approached him. Within moments, Stephen was shot multiple times and killed. The killers then climbed a fence and moved silently toward the house. Inside, Sharon and her friends were relaxed, unaware. The killers cut the telephone line first. Then they entered through a window. What followed was not random violence. It was calculated terror. The intruders gathered the occupants into the living room. They announced that they were there to commit murder. Jay Sebring was shot and stabbed. Wojciech Frykowski attempted to fight back and escape, but he was beaten and stabbed repeatedly. Abigail Folger tried to run outside across the lawn, but she was chased down and killed. Sharon Tate, terrified and pleading for the life of her unborn child, begged to be taken hostage instead of murdered. Her pleas were ignored. She was stabbed multiple times. The attackers left the word "pig" written in Sharon Tate's blood on the front door. The brutality of the crime shocked Los Angeles the next morning. News spread rapidly. Hollywood was gripped with fear. No clear motive was immediately known. It seemed senseless, random, terrifying. The following night, the Manson followers killed again, targeting another couple, Lino and Rosemary LaBianca, in a separate home. The crimes appeared chaotic, but they were part of the same twisted ideology. For months, police struggled to connect the dots. There was no clear suspect at first. It wasn't until one of the Manson followers bragged in jail about the killings that the investigation accelerated. Gradually, authorities uncovered the connection to Charles Manson and his cult, known as the Manson family. In 1970, the trial began. It became one of the most publicized criminal trials in American history. The courtroom often felt surreal. Manson carved an X into his own forehead during the proceedings. His followers remained disturbingly loyal, even smiling during testimony. In 1971, Charles Manson and several of his followers were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. They were originally sentenced to death, but California temporarily abolished the death penalty in 1972, and the sentences were reduced to life imprisonment. Sharon Tate's murder became one of the most infamous crimes in American history. It marked the symbolic end of the peace and love era of the 1960s. Hollywood changed overnight. Security increased. Trust vanished. Fear replaced innocence. Sharon Tate's unborn child never had a chance at life. Her story remains one of tragedy, not just because of fame, but because of how violently and senselessly it ended. Even today, decades later, the address 1050 Cielo Drive no longer exists. The house was demolished in 1994, but the memory of what happened that night remains deeply embedded in true crime history. And it all began with a quiet summer evening and a doorbell that no one expected to ring.